Welcome back to the Geo Frankie podcast. Frankie, can we discuss a transfer rumour first of all? One that just won't go away. I was hoping it would go away, I'll be honest with you. Reiss Nelson of Arsenal. It seems to be sticking around though, and we're linked with him more and more. We have been for a while, but it seems a little bit more louder this week.
Yeah, it has seemed to be that way. Seen opinions that maybe it would be that Jarrod Bowen would become more of a centre forward, and maybe we'd look at signing someone who can cover him out wide. Not sure, to be perfectly honest. It's one of them ones that doesn't really fill me with any sort of confidence. It was a man who sort of popped up and sort of never really kind of made it, did he? He has had hype at times and he's had opportunities, never really quite done it. So why would he come to West Ham and do it? And I understand that people would argue, well, maybe he ain't going to get in the Arsenal team, but he needs a fresh start and whatever. Just doesn't fill me with any confidence. There's nothing about him that suggests that he would come to West Ham and kickstart his career and even be the type of player that I'd want around West Ham, to be honest. So
do you believe the transfer rumour?
I think it's, in a way, it's probably one of those ones that is the last resort. It's the sort of player that we'd have if we fail in our other transfer dealings. He's kind of there on a short list, way down the pecking order, but he would fill a gap if we became desperate. So that's how it sort of feels to me.
Yeah, I think we all judge the in the nose and journalists ourselves. We all have our favourites, and I like Hexest employee, and that's what makes me worried with this transfer rumour, that he's one behind it. So it gives it a little bit of credibility for my liking. And I agree with what you said in regards to what people think about Nelson, in the sense that he needs to move away from Arsenal on a fresh start. I absolutely agree with that and think he does need to go somewhere. But I wouldn't want it to be at West Ham. The right winger side of things, we've already, even if we were, I don't buy into the whole Bowen will be the striker and we're going to get cover, right? I don't buy into that. But even if we were to do that, we've already got that at the club with Kudus and Guilherme. Kudus, I prefer him on the right than the left, certainly. So if Bowen was to go up front, we don't need another right winger. We've already got the options there. So I just don't see, unless we're planning on putting him on the left-hand side and trying to turn him into the winger, the attacking midfielder over on that side of the pitch. But I just think that all these things taken into consideration, as I always say, every transfer has a risk. It's your job, Tim Steiden's job, Lopeteguis' job, the scout's job to decrease that risk as much as possible. And I just think this one's quite high, and it's also an expensive one as well. About 20 million they're looking for. I mean, if this was a bargain bucket signing and it was a handful of million, then sure, I get it. Just on the off chance that you can turn him into that £25 million player. But I don't see much scope here for West Ham. It makes me a little bit nervous, actually. And I'm just hoping that this one doesn't happen. There's got to be much better options out there. And I don't know enough about Jota Silva we've been linked to him consistently over the summer as well, an actual left-sided player, a release clause of 17 million. I don't know much about him, but I'll tell you what, I'd much rather see him arrive at West Ham than Nelson, because I do know enough about the Arsenal winger to know that I'm not too keen on him. So I'm hoping this transfer rumour just quieting down quickly and disappears just as quick as well, please. It's not really a loan with an option to buy. I'm for that one, right? Low risk, low financial outlay. Have a look at him. Try before you buy. If it doesn't work out, what's the big deal? But I just think it's too expensive for not much of a guarantee. And I don't like that one, Frankie. So shall we say no? We'll put Nelson in the no column.
I think so. Like we say, he's had opportunities, not really quite done it. Nothing is suggesting that I think he'd pull up any trees for us. I just had a quick look at his sort of goal records and stuff. He's at times he's shown some promise. He's shown a little bit about him that he's got something. So like you say, if it was a loan and it was a bit of a filler for someone who's going to come in and sort of, try and resurrect his career, we've seen that can work out with people like Jesse Lingard. So if if it was going to be something like that, but I would say Lingard certainly had more credentials than he has before he came to us. So, but if he came, like you say, on that basis, but £20 million, way too much.
Yeah, it stinks of a Fulham transfer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has that feel to it, definitely.
It's got a Fulham vibe. Reiss Nelson to Fulham. Heard it here first. There you go. Right then, let's rewind a little bit to the weekend. We obviously played our first friendly. Monday, sorry, it was Monday. We played our first friendly. What was your thoughts off the back of that?
I just really enjoyed it, and I just saw it so different to everybody else. Not everybody. I think that would be saying too much, but I think the general opinion suggested that you can't really tell too much because it's the first friendly, everybody's unfit. But I said before the game, I don't really care about individuals. I don't really care about, I understand people are going to be a little bit off the pace, but what I really wanted to see was how we're potentially going to line up, the tactics we're going to use, a bit of pattern of play, a bit of shape, just an insight into how Lopeteguis starts a team, how he lines them up. And actually, I thought we got more insight into that than I think everybody's given us credit for. He definitely, you could see for the first time in a very, very long time, players knowing where they should be positionally, how they should behave and where they should go in different passages of play. And I think we saw it most, and it was really prominent with Orford. I think the way Orford moved in to the back into sort of almost a central CDM, a central back, a centre back, which allowed the two fullbacks to push up and really hug the lines and sort of go and support Kudus and Guilherme, and how we then dictated playing the ball out from that position, I thought was really good to see. It was the most tactically sound, or even if you don't think we've quite mastered it yet and he's got a lot more coaching to do and there's a lot more to go to drill us into what he wants us to be, the fact that I could actually see what West Ham were trying to do, I haven't seen that for ages. I normally watch West Ham and think, what is it we're doing here? What is the idea? What are we actually trying to achieve? And for the first time I actually saw it, I thought Orford was standout for me. I thought he was excellent. Brilliant, brought the ball out from the back really well. I thought his passing was really good. I thought Kilman suited that shape and that defensive lineup really well. He looked comfortable there, looked like he'd played that system many a times before, and he knew exactly where he should be. He was actually trying to play through the lines a little bit, which was really good to see again. Rather than sidewards, backwards, eventually try and get it out wide, hope Kudus can do a bit of magic. We was actually trying to bypass their midfield at times and their press by playing a quick ball through the lines and get us on the front foot, which was really good. Also, I felt like the three front men were much higher up the pitch than we've seen our front men in a long time. They didn't have to track back as much. And that, again, was because the system that he was trying to play with that transition between a back four and a back five. So I was loving what I was seeing. I was sitting there just thinking, do you know what? I actually get what we're trying to do. I can see how this would suit us. And then I've sort of got a few comments with regards to maybe writing off Mavropanos after one friendly. I certainly haven't written him off. And I said on the last show that I actually hope that he can be coached into this way of playing and he can sort of grow into it a little bit. I just felt what we saw was this system might be a bit uncomfortable for him. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it suits his style of play. I don't think it suits the type of centre-back that he is. And he may need a bit of time just to get used to this. He gave the ball away a lot. And when Aguerd came in, Aguerd looked a lot more comfortable in that system again. So it was system things for me. I liked what I saw. Guilherme, he's a long way off the pace for me, mate. I think he's got a long way to go. The physicality of the Premier League is going to be a real challenge for him at the moment. But Kudus looked like his usual unbelievable self. Just some of the runs that he went on. At one point, he tried to take on players multiple times, just kept beating them, and they just couldn't get the ball off him. He is just an absolute talent. So, no, for me, to see signs already of a team being coached and knowing what their roles are and how they're supposed to be and positionally what they're supposed to be doing, I thought it was really positive.
What about James Ward-Prowse? And the number 10 role, Moyes'
Yeah.
legacy living on.
It is. I think that was obviously he's been shoehorned into a position there. I actually thought when Earthy came on, he looked good on the ball.
Yeah.
It's mad. I'd actually prefer Earthy in that position. Literally, if we was lining up first game of the season and your choice of a number 10 was either Ward-Prowse or Earthy, I think I would almost be tempted to give it to Earthy. I thought he looked lively. I thought he got his foot on the ball. He made things happen. But Ward-Prowse was, he gave it that typical Ward-Prowse performance. He was putting in effort. He was trying. He was pressing. You could see he was giving it everything. He almost played in a first friendly like he had a point to prove already.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just he was only there because of player availability. He's got too many centre midfielders, hasn't he? Because he's got Potts, Orford, Irving, Ward-Prowse, and then he's not actually really got any sort of number 10 type players at the moment, with Paqueta being away. Yes, Kudus could have went there, but then you're just like, well, who do we put out on the right? We're now lacking somebody out on the right hand side. So I think it was just player availability. Ward-Prowse went in there, but I thought you could see what he wants his number 10 to do, which is almost become a second striker when pressed. And I was impressed by the way he was getting up to support Cornet. And speaking of Cornet, he was the one player I was disappointed by in the friendly, because I'm quite lenient with senior players I feel like perhaps don't have much to prove, like Emerson and Kudus, for example. I think they could stroll through pre-season, not really put in too much effort, and just treat it as training, which is, I'm just getting my fitness sharp, getting my match sharpness up. But I think there's one or two players, and this is the youngsters and the fringe players for me, that actually you just need to do a bit more. So Danny Ings, it would have been, if he was still here, Flynn Downs, in Maxwell Cornet. I'm thinking you guys don't have that credit in the bank, and I appreciate we've got a change in the dugout. I don't think it changes too much, given how much Lopeteguis watched us last season. You know, Max Kilman could breeze through pre-season and still start against Aston Villa, whereas the other three are all competing for one place at this point in time, probably. And Cornet was someone I was looking forward to him a little bit on Monday when I seen him starting. I thought, please, like, come on, just show us something. And I was a bit disappointed for him. He was played as a striker because he just really struggled in the game as a striker. And I thought, well, can we move him out? Can we give him a crack on the left-hand side? And he was the one player at the end of the game I was a bit like, just wanted to see a bit more from him, actually. And I'm hoping maybe this weekend he gets an opportunity that's not a striker position and he can just grab it with both hands. Otherwise, we're going to be going into the season, we're no better off with Cornet. He's still going to be seen as a player rather than an option, and I want to change that. Cornet's the one I want to change. Mavropanos, it's a big season for him. I appreciate he had a spell at Arsenal, but I always tend to judge players, especially coming from abroad, in their second season. I think first season, if you're good, wonderful. If not, it's not the end of the world. Let's put that down to a settling in period, and then let's see what you can do. So this season's an important one as far as I'm concerned with Mavropanos, but I agree. Orford was the best player on that pitch for West Ham. I was very impressed by what he had to offer. Now I'm just going to pull up. I'm changing topic, by the way, drastically, but with risk of me and Frankie being two old men shouting at the clouds kind of thing here, we're going to move on to the ticketing. But the reason for that is there's an update. The club have put up an update on Saturday night. They sort of snuck it out, but at the same time didn't. It was on the homepage of their website, the latest news, but didn't really make a fanfare about what they were doing, which I think speaks volumes, but we're going to discuss it. However, there was one notable, there was a big article. I'll put a link to the club's article in the description below, out of fairness, as well as the petition. They're both there, so you can go have a look. But out of all of it, there was one bit in particular which we are going to discuss. It said, following discussions with fan groups and having listened to supporter feedback, we're pleased to confirm that we are committed to delivering the following initiatives for the benefit of new and relocating season ticket holders. We understand the need for our over 66 supporters to have access to concessionary seating within the lower stadium bowl, and are therefore making concessionary tickets available for over 66 supporters in bands 3 and 4. These tickets can be purchased with a 25% discount, making them some of the cheapest lower bowl tickets across the Premier League. So that's the change they have made to the season tickets, Frankie. What was your take on the release from the club?
I would say that they feel the pressure, they've taken note, and they've tried to do the very absolute minimum to make it go away. It's a liberty. It isn't enough of a change, anywhere near enough of a change for me. Yeah, okay, we understand that probably the people who are going to struggle to get up to the top tiers the most are going to be the more senior people. My boy started going when he was like 3 years old. It was still a real difficult time for him to get up there. So youngsters still struggle when they are toddlers. It's still an effort for them. So to ignore that and ignore that fact is not right. But you know that they've tried to. Again, it's that same old political language that makes them sound the whole of. This is the sort of stuff that they do. That if you phoned up TalkSport with a criticism of this situation, the language they've used and what they'd have put in front of TalkSport, and this is what TalkSport would have seen because it's a message from the club, not from the fans. TalkSport would say, but you've got some of the cheapest tickets in the Premier League, blah, blah, blah. No, rubbish, absolute rubbish. I purchased, so my boys, he wasn't able to get a season ticket yet, so he's been on the waiting list. We've applied for an additional season ticket next to where we sit. He hasn't been given one yet. I had to pay for him to get a ticket for the Aston Villa game because they released the ability to purchase additional seats for season ticket holders. Now, as you know, I'm in the gods. I'm in the band of the cheapest season ticket possible. However, his ticket next to me as an additional seat was £70 for the Aston Villa game. For a child, that is not on. It's just not on. It's far too much money for what is effectively the worst band, the worst view in the stadium, in the corner, right up in the gods. 70 quid for someone who's 6 years old is an absolute liberty. And we are still going to massively isolate and push away the next generation of West Ham fans that are going to want to come through. And it's just not acceptable. It's not, they keep going on about how they're still focused on family football. It's nothing but lies. It's completely and utterly a load of rubbish. And we massively need to keep pressure on and keep talking about this because what they've done, we shouldn't be going away.
Well, that's the reason I'm going to keep talking about it, because as soon as we shut up, that's it. That's the end of it. You know, they won't make any further changes if we start to go, okay, they've given us a little bit, and it's a crumb. They've given us a crumb, and like you said, they've done the bare minimum to try and get us to shut up and go away. But I think when you do something like this, when you change your policy, it's an admission of error. You basically said, we have got this wrong, because if you genuinely believe you haven't got it wrong, then why are you changing it? And if you say it's because we've listened to the fans, we've changed it because we listened to the fans, then change it all. Change all of it, not just some of it, because you're claiming you've changed it because you've listened to the fan base. Well, you haven't though, have you? Because if you listen to the fan base, you would have the kids discount in the lower bowl as well. And it wouldn't be just bands 3 and 4. It would be back to bands 1 and 2 as well. I understand why they won't put the concessions in the 1966 and the 1966 West seats. And that's fine. Keep those as your premium seats. Don't put concessions in there. That's okay. Because we never really had that in the first place. You haven't taken that away from us. That is fine. But to go backwards on just a smidgen of what you've taken away, that's the worst thing, in my opinion, because you've admitted you've made an error and then you've refused to fix the error. You basically, it wound me up, actually. When I read that, it made me almost angrier than I was before they reversed it, because it feels like they've thought about it, almost like an appeal, if you like, and went, yeah, okay, this is what we'll do. Because I'm surprised that they've backtracked. But they ain't going to backtrack twice, and that's my worry here. They've done it now. They'll say, look, we've listened. We've backtracked on the concessions. We've done that. No, you haven't. You've backtracked on the over 66s in bands 3s and 4. What about bands 1 and 2? What about the kids in bands 1, 2, 3, and 4? What about those ones? You ain't backtracked on them. And this is what wound me up. And then if you ever get suspicious about the timing of things, you're quite right when it comes to West Ham, because 2 days later, they released the ticketing news for the Aston Villa one, the Aston Villa game individually, and bang, that's it. Confirmation. The prices have gone up on a matchday ticket. There's no concessions at all. And this is, I say, it's a patronising quiz, so I apologise, but I'm going to play this patronising quiz game with the viewers right now. If you were a traditional family, 2 adults, 2 kids, 4 of you, and you wanted to go to the West Ham Aston Villa game, first game of the season at the London Stadium, 4 of you going, and let's say you're going into band 4, right? Now, band, not 1966, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4. You're in the 4th band. In I guess in their structure, you're in the.
That's in the corner.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
a few seats up in the upper tier.
Yeah, you're not behind the goal or anything. It's better than Frankie's view, but it's not as good as the rest. So I think we're being fair here, not picking the premium seats, right? We're picking band 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 bands. We're going for band 4, which is the 6th one down, right? 2 adults, 2 kids. £280. That will cost you. The quiz was meant to be guess how much it is. I missed that bit. But 280 quid. That's just a ticket. That doesn't include, I mean, there's probably a booking fee on that as well, because the club will want a few pounds for that. There'll be a booking fee. That doesn't include anything. Your travel, your food, none of it. £280 to go to one game of football against Aston Villa. It's absolutely madness. Now, Aston Villa's a band A game. And what the club have done in recent years is, it used to be your games were in either A, B, or C, and that would reflect the price. And obviously, the C is the cheapest ones. As years have gone by, the club have had to create a category called Double A, because they wanted to make the more desirable games even more expensive than other ones. And there's now even a AAA ticket as well. Now, last season, only Liverpool was AAA, but your Sky Sports top 6 clubs are all AA. Aston Villa, Newcastle have all been promoted to A. They used to be Bs. They're now As. I assume it's because they've qualified for Champions League football recently. They thought, we'll make a bit of money off that. We're paying to come and see West Ham, not Aston Villa or Newcastle. Why are they gone up in price? Because they get better, we have to pay more. How does that work? But I ain't going to stop talking about this. I'll keep on providing updates. I think once every week or 2 weeks isn't the end of the world anyway. But the club have backtracked a little bit, but it's not enough as far as I'm concerned. Keep going. Backtrack a little bit further, please. And let's try and get these reversed. But this is proof that the petition has worked to some extent. It's not worked as much as we'd like, but it's working. The link's in the description below. If you haven't signed it, please do so. And hopefully we can get affordable football back. Their quote, not ours. Anything you'd like to add about ticketing, Frankie?
No, summed it up perfectly.
Bent your ear enough, have I?
It was very well put. And like you say, £280 is far too much.
For one game.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for those that can't afford to take their kids, but I also feel sorry for parents with 2 kids and might only be able to afford to take one of them. You've got to pick between your children here and which one you're taking to the football. It's 140 quid for one adult and one kid to go to that game. My advice would be don't go to the Aston Villa one. Save your money and wait for Brentford or Leicester to come around and it'll be band C. Wait for the Carabao Cup game because you might get kids for £1, maybe.
Well, mate, what people will do is they'll just go to other football teams. They'll go to Leyton Orient. They'll go to Charlton. They'll go to their local teams. That's what ends up happening.
Grays have had a massive dig at Karren Bradys on social media. Said, with professional clubs raising their prices and removing concessions, kids under 16 can get in free. And it's like less than 20 quid for a family of 4 to come watch one of our games kind of thing. So there's the lower league clubs are using what West Ham are doing as a marketing campaign to promote their ticketing prices, which good. Go for it as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of lower league clubs, Ebbsfleet on Saturday. Are you off?
I am. I will be there. My partner in crime was going to abandon me. He's got the opportunity to be mascot for his team that he plays for. He's in the under-7s, but the adult team, they've got an opportunity to be mascot, but he's turned the mascot down. He's coming to Ebbsfleet with me, so we're looking forward to that. It always marks the start of the West Ham season for us. And actually, that's the other thing. If you can't afford to go to the Premier League matches, and I do understand that is how you're going to capture the imagination of the youngsters far more because of the atmosphere and everything else that goes on, but do trust me that if you go to the under-23s games in nice stadiums like Ebbsfleet, if you get there early and you get down to the front, because it's basically you don't buy a seat, you can sit wherever you like. So you get there early, go and find yourself a seat right in front of the pitch. You'll feel connected to the game. The tickets are only £1 for under 12s, so affordable football. Adults are only 12 quid. And like I say, you can actually get to talk to the under 23 players. They will make an effort. They will come over. After the game, they do have to do their warm down, so you do have to hang around a little bit, but the kids do normally stick around for the warm down to finish. And then afterwards, the players come over. They'll sign any things that the kids take along. They'll happily sign any photos or cards or programs or whatever it is the kids have got, and they make a massive effort. So it actually makes you feel part of it. So rather than maybe deserting West Ham completely and going off to Grays or Leyton Orient or wherever it may be, the other option is follow the under 23s, because it's good. I enjoy it.
I'll be paying my £5 to watch us play Dagenham. And if anything, I don't mind. By the way, I don't mind paying for it, assuming the money goes to Dagenham and not West Ham. I think it does. To be fair, as much as slack the club off, we can be quite good in pre-season games of giving the proceeds to the home crowd when it's a lower league one, and as we should. So I'm assuming my £5 goes to Dagenham. So I'll be watching the senior team, and you'll be watching under 21. So next week's podcast will be good. You'll get a review of 2 games for free. You don't even have to pay for it here. That's over on Patreon if you want to pay for stuff. Last thing then, Frankie, it's another transfer rumour, just because I want your reaction to it. Dominic Calver-Lewin, what did you make of that one?
Oh dear, it's if it's coming down to Reiss Nelson and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we certainly didn't need Tim Stighton and his private jet to make those sorts of signings happen. That would be very much reverting to type and a massive backward step. So not for me. He had his moment, his one season wonder where he started notching and putting the ball in the back of the net, and as we've seen of late, he's back to the Calvert-Lewin of old. So avoid that one like the plague, I feel.
Do you believe the rumour though?
Not really. Again, look, we've made an inquiry. It wouldn't surprise me if we would have just had a little look. What's the situation? How's things? And keep it there as one of our typical last resort signings that we've done in the past. If we come to sort of end of the transfer window and need to panic buy, that's the sort of player you would be. Look, if it was we hadn't managed to bring in another striker, we had to rely on Antonio up front on his own again, chopping around maybe potentially Bowen and Kudus and stuff like that, and he's coming for next to nothing. It's whatever, and he don't want loads of wages, and he's a backup to Antonio. I would probably just about take him if it was a short-term contract and you thought, well, it is another option. But really and truly, it's not what we should be about. It's not what we were talking with in terms of next level. There's no creativity or there's no, it's not an inspired signing by any means. It would be a very typical old style West Ham signing when Sullivan used to go around and do it himself. So look, I hope it's not someone on Tim's list, and it very much is just a real last resort. That one, Reiss Nelson, I'd put maybe slightly higher in terms of what I would prefer, but neither of them really are what we should be looking at.
Wan-Bissaka though, big yes, or
I don't know about a big yes. I would certainly take him. I preferred when we was looking at Walker Peters. That was more my preferred out of the two. Again, just he's all right. He looks like he has all the enthusiasm. He wants to get forward. He's got plenty of energy, but his defensive ability is very, very suspect at times. Again, is it an upgrade on Soufal? This is the difference. Walker Peters I actually saw as an improvement on Soufal. I thought it would really improve the first 11. Wan-Bissaka, I don't know. I'm not sure there's too much differences between the two.
I'll give my opinion in detail on Wan-Bissaka tomorrow. But I think Wan-Bissaka is an excellent defender. I think it's his attacking side that's a bit iffy, if you like, but I think
I just don't like his positional play. I think he gets caught out a lot, but then Soufal can get caught out a lot. So, like I say, I just think that he's got plenty of energy. He likes to run. Yeah, okay. I think neither of them are particularly good at crossing. I think if you was to put the traits down between him and Soufal, I think quite a lot of them match up. They just, I wouldn't see him as this massive improvement for.
Statistically,
personally.
there's not much in it, and offensively, Soufal comes out on top. Actually,
Yeah,
statistically,
not surprised.
so the numbers back up what you're saying here. But Frankie, listen, thank you, pleasure as always. So much appreciated. I'm looking forward to getting a review of the under-21s game next week, because I won't be watching it, so I'm hoping you're going to tell me who's impressed and who's not impressed. So, but thank you very much for joining me.
I enjoy it, and I look forward to. I'm going to try and get a lot of footage from the Ebbsfleet games, so hopefully I can give people a nice little insight into what those sort of games are all about, and we can get it edited together so people who haven't gone get to see a little bit of what those games are all about.
Love that. Right, if you guys at home have enjoyed it, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, subscribe to Hammers Chat, myself and Frankie. Catch you next week.